Okay, Michael, good morning everyone. So today we are going to discuss on the infectious diseases, all right, which is the last chapter in semester 2 for STPM. I'm not sure about matriculation and others. Okay, now, infectious diseases, okay, they are the disorders or diseases caused by pathogenic microorganisms such as bacteria, viruses, parasites, or fungi, okay, that can spread directly or indirectly from one individual to another. Directly means like when you inhale air that has viruses, okay, in the air. So the viruses will enter your nasal cavity or your respiratory tract directly from the air into your respiratory tract. That is directly pathway. Indirectly means ada pembawa. Usually ada pembawa yang kita panggil sebagai vector. Right? So this vector will transmit that pathogenic microorganisms into or inside our body. So vectors are living organisms that can transmit infectious pathogens between humans or from animals to humans. Okay, pathogens are microorganisms that are capable of causing diseases. Right. An infection is the state produced by the establishment of one or more pathogenic agents. Okay, like bacteria, viruses, parasites, or fungi, which I have already highlighted earlier. Okay, in or on the body of a suitable host. Okay, so there are 6 major types of infectious agents. First is bacteria. Now, before I proceed, for STPM candidates as well as matriculation candidates, okay, by the end of these infectious diseases, you must be able to differentiate the diseases caused by bacteria, viruses, parasites, as well as fungi. And you must be able to distinguish between bacteria, viruses, parasites, and fungi, how they look like, how they transmit disease, and what are the type of diseases that they cause. Okay, so bacteria, okay, bacteria is a unicellular prokaryotic organism. Okay, example of bacteria is Mycobacterium tuberculosis that causes tuberculosis, Vibrio cholerae that causes cholera, and Salmonella typhi that causes typhoid. Now, when you write down the scientific names, okay, and the binomial lineage, okay, pastikan kamu garis. The name of the genus must be underlined, and when you write the name of the genus, it must start with a capital letter. Okay, and then space. Tuberculosis is the name of species, mesti gariskan juga. Alright, and then dia punya huruf di depan tu mesti huruf kecil, small letter. Okay, so this is a Salmonella typhi. Okay, nampak geli ya. Uish, terlalu banyak fimbriae dia. Okay, for cell attachment. Okay, sorry, for attachment on cells or surface. Then we have viruses. Okay, viruses are submicroscopic infectious agent that replicates only inside the living cells of an organism. Example is poliovirus that causes poliomyelitis, influenza virus that causes influenza. Okay, then HIV that causes AIDS, and then hepatitis A virus that causes hepatitis A. Ini contoh hepatitis A virus. Okay, very similar. They have this lipid membrane, and then on the lipid membrane they have receptors, protein receptors. Okay, and then they have this capsid. You can see the capsid, right? Dalam capsid ini mesti ada genetic material. Okay. Next we have fungi, which is eukaryotic heterotrophic organism. Example is Candida species, that causes candidiasis or thrush, and Tinea corporis that causes ringworm. Ini ialah Tinea corporis. Okay, ringworm ni ialah kurap. Tahu kurap kan? Very itchy tu. Dia macam patches raw, dia macam circular red patches. Okay, sangat gatal. And when you scratch, it might peel off and causes some bleeding. Okay, Tinea corporis on your head will cause bald patches on your head. Okay, bald patches. Dan bald patches tu pula dia very reddish. Okay, and then dia ada macam serbuk sikit. Okay, powdery. Okay, and tinea corporis in your nails. Yes, you can get tinea corporis inside your nails. It will cause your nail to fall out or break. Alright, nails breakage. Now, when you write, okay, scientific names of microorganisms that are being that has species as their species name, right? Like Candida sp. So Candida underline. Okay, the name of the genus always be underlined and start with a capital letter. The name of the species can just be written as sp dot. You don't have to underline this, right? Because Candida species, all right, this fungi within hour they can multiply to many different types of species. That's why they're being written as Candida sp dot. Next we have protozoa, which is in unicellular heterotrophic eukaryotes. Okay. Now, examples of protozoa are Plasmodium malariae that causes malaria. Okay, and Leishmania species that causes leishmaniasis. Ini contoh Leishmania species. Nampakkan macam Euglena sikit. Dia ada flagellum sini ni. Okay, this Leishmania, when it enters your body, it will hide inside your white blood cells, especially your macrophage. Okay, dan di sini dia akan ubah peranan macrophage tu supaya tidak berfungsi sebagai APC. Okay, so I think from there you can picture what will happen to your adaptive immunity if your macrophage can't function as an APC. Okay, so untuk STPM yang penting, STPM candidates yang dalam syllabus kamu ialah pasal cholera, tuberculosis, apa lagi ya, dengue. Okay, ada 4. The other one I can't recall. Okay, so for today kita hanya fokus kepada dengue dan cholera sahaja. Oh yeah, there are 4, right? Cholera, tuberculosis, okay, cholera, tuberculosis, dengue and malaria. 4 ni penting, right? Okay, helminths, they are simple invertebrate animals, right? Examples are Trichinella spiralis that causes trichinosis, and Schistosoma species that causes schistosomiasis, and Ascaris lumbricoides that causes ascariasis infection. And last we have prions. Okay, they are proteinaceous infectious particles linked to some degenerative disorders of the central nervous system. Okay, and diseases caused by prions are, I don't know how to pronounce this, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, I don't know, maybe so, scrapie in sheep, okay, and then Alzheimer disease and Parkinson disease. Oh, lupa nak tunjuk tadi. This is, right, a population of Ascaris lumbricoides that were extracted from a patient. Okay, these Ascaris lumbricoides can grow to many meters in length. So hati-hatilah. Okay, now STPM candidates, prions is not in your syllabus, right? So this is just for your additional knowledge. So prions, they are protein that is being misfolded, somehow being misfolded, all right, that normally present in brain cells. Okay, now this prion, when they gets into cell, all right, that contains the normal form of protein, this prion somehow able to convert this normal protein, okay, into a misfolded protein. Okay, or senang cerita, prion ini boleh tukar normal protein kepada prion lagi. Alright, so this, when you have many prions, right, they will aggregate into a complex of prions. Okay, and this complex of prions, okay, can convert other normal proteins to prions, and this will join the chain to form a very long chain of prions. Okay, now prion aggregation will interfere with the normal cellular functions, and this is where, right, the diseases came from. Okay, now let's go to the first infectious disease, cholera. All right, cholera. So now cholera, okay, as you can see from here, this is the Vibrio cholera, right? Kamu tiap perlu tahu ni dia punya structure ni, apa isi dalam ni semua tiap payah tahu. Okay, dalam syllabus kamu. Okay, yang kamu perlu tahu ialah apa punca cholera, apa simptom dia, treatment, and then prevention. Itu saja. Right? To STPM candidates, what is that particular infectious disease, their symptoms, right? Their transmission, right? Their transmission, and then the symptoms, and then prevention, as well as treatment. Okay. So now, cholera is an acute diarrheal infection caused by ingestion of food or water, okay, contaminated with the bacterium Vibrio cholerae. Right, symptoms: severe watery diarrhea, okay, cerit birit yang teruk, and then abdominal cramps ataupun kamu panggil sakit perut, and then nausea, loya, and then vomiting, muntah-muntah, severe dehydration. Obviously, okay, kamu akan severe dehydration. Why? Because you already lost water through the severe watery diarrhea. Then vomiting, okay, and then when you have this cholera, you also lost your appetite. You don't want to eat, you don't want to drink, and that will causes the cholera to be your cholera infection to be lagi teruk lah, right? And then lethargy ni lesu, letih. Okay, now what happens when this bacteria enters your body? Okay, it will go into your small intestine, right? So when ingested, this Vibrio cholera invades the intestinal mucosa, then multiplies, okay, and releases choleragen. Okay, inilah choleragen. Dan choleragen ini will bind to your epithelial cell of the small intestines. So what happened? The plasma membrane of the small intestine, okay, becomes highly permeable to water. So sodium ion absorption, okay, into the small intestine is inhibited. Okay, is inhibited, but secretion of water and chloride ions out from the small intestine, okay, or out from the epithelial cells of the small intestine increases, okay, together with the shredding of the intestinal lining. So this causes rice water stool, okay, rice water stool in cholera patients. Okay, so I need to say, if you have cholera, all right, you know that you have severe watery diarrhea, right? And your diarrhea will be, you will notice it will look like a rice water. Okay, your stool in your diarrhea, the stool in your diarrhea would look like rice water stool. Macam kamu cuci beras tu, apa air dia? Putih semacam kan, itulah diarrhea untuk orang yang ada cholera. So this cholera affect people anyway where sanitation, alright, is poor, okay, and fecal contamination of water occurs, meaning to say pencemar air itu tercemar dengan najis, alright. Typical at-risk areas include peri-urban slums, okay, and camps for internally displaced refugees. Okay, Now, other factors are usage, okay, of contaminated water, okay, with the bacteria, usually from feces of infected person. And then poor hygiene on handling food will contaminate the food with the bacteria. Okay, and then eating raw shellfish that is contaminated with the bacteria. Okay, so these are how these Vibrio cholera are transmitted. Next, treatment. Okay, intake of ORS, or oral rehydration salt, that will return the loss of fluid and electrolytes to the body. And then intake of antibiotics, okay, like tetracycline and chloramphenicol, to destroy the bacteria inside the body. Bye bye. And then installing of intravenous drip or IV drip, okay, to maintain the balance of fluid and electrolyte inside the body. Prevention, okay, senang saja prevention cholera ni, proper sewage treatment and sanitation. And then access to safe, treated and clean water, including drinking boiled water or drinking filtered water, okay, properly filtered water. And then health education, like what I'm doing now to you, to spread awareness. Okay, then hygienic food and drinks handling by washing hands regularly, right? Before you handle makanan tu cuci tangan dulu lah. And then vaccination for travelers visiting areas with cholera outbreak. Okay, all right. Next, dengue. Right, dengue. Hai, saya benci lah benda ni. Vector. So dengue is an infectious disease caused by a flaviviruses, okay, or also known as dengue, that is spread through the bite of the infected Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus female mosquito. Okay, so the agent for dengue is the Aedes aegypti or Aedes albopictus female mosquito. Right, kalau susah mau ingat nama-nama ni, ingat saya lah, main vector untuk dengue ialah Aedes female mosquito. Okay, but preferably if you can memorize Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus is better. Right, when you write, remember when you write their scientific name mesti underline. Okay, Aedes underline, aegypti underline, dan A depan Aedes ni mesti huruf besar. Okay, so these are the 4 strains, right? Dengue 1, Dengue 2, 3, and 4 of this virus. So there are 4 types of the RNA dengue virus, all right? They are the Dengue 1, look carefully how they're being written here, Dengue 2, Dengue 3, and Dengue 4. So infection with one serotype does not provide cross protection against the other serotypes. So one person can have dengue fever 4 times during his life. Okay, so I mean, say those of you who had dengue before, you might have been infected with either one of these 4 strains. So can I be infected by the other strain? Yes. Okay, let's say you were infected with the dengue 1 strain. Kalau kamu infected lagi dengan dengue 1 strain, symptom tu not so severe as the first infection because kamu sudah ada immunity against the first strain. But if you are infected with the other strain, you don't have immunity against it yet. So you will experience another first time infection, right? Primary infection. Now, types of dengue. Dengue fever, dengue hemorrhagic fever, okay, and dengue shock syndrome. 3 jenis dengue, bahaya. So, dengue fever, right? The symptom will be onset fever, right? Onset fever, then severe headache, right? Pain behind the eyes, okay? Muscle and bone muscle and bone or joint pains, okay, sakit sendi, nausea and vomiting, and then rashes, you can see the skin rashes, and leukopenia, which is the low white blood cell count. Okay, so ini ialah symptom untuk dengue fever, which is a very common symptom, alright, for individual experiencing dengue fever. Now, dengue hemorrhagic fever, right? This is the progression from the dengue fever, right? The dengue fever progress to another stage, which is more severe, right? And that is called the dengue hemorrhagic fever. Candidates class, please mind your spelling on the hemorrhagic. Okay, ramai candidates dia dapat markah sebab salah spell, misspelling of the hemorrhagic. So in dengue hemorrhagic fever, okay, the individual must have prior infection with one or more dengue serotypes. Okay, with one or more dengue serotypes, or infected with the dengue2 serotype. Okay, that's why kamu yang sudah ada pernah kena dengue sebelum ini boleh kena dengue hemorrhagic fever kalau terkena lagi serangan kali kedua. Okay, terkena strain yang kedua ni. Ataupun you are so unlucky tiba-tiba terkena dengue2 serotype. Okay, so dengue hemorrhagic fever has higher mortality than the dengue fever. Okay, and then your fever will be very high, right? High fever, and many of the symptoms of dengue fever, right? But drowsiness and lethargy are more pronounced, lagi ketara. Okay, drowsiness and lethargy. And then enlarged liver, low platelets count, okay, low blood pressure, and abnormally poor blood circulation. And then severe bleeding from gastrointestinal tract, okay, loss of plasma through leakage from blood vessels that leads to a higher concentration of heme in the blood, meaning to say severe increase in vascular permeability. So this also can lead to a severe drop in the protein content of the body. Okay, in the next slide, I will explain, right, about this loss of plasma through leakage. Okay, next is dengue shock syndrome. Okay, it's the progression from the dengue hemorrhagic fever. So severe failure of blood circulation, right, and then skin becomes cold, blotchy, and congested. The pulse becomes fast. Initially, lethargic patients will become restless and are known to writhe in unbearable abdominal pain. Plasma leakage will lead to severe shock with no detectable blood pressure or pulse. So dengue shock syndrome yang paling bahaya sekali, right? So don't play. It can progress from dengue fever to dengue hemorrhagic to dengue shock syndrome. Okay, now the transmission, right? Boleh nampak kan ni, Aedes ni. So transmitted to humans, which is the primary host, from the bites of the female Aedes mosquito, right? Tak betul ni. Ini sepatutnya from the bites of Aedes female mosquito. Mesti dapatan female. Aedes female mosquito that has previously bitten, right? Previously bitten an infected person, right? So this disease spread by the bite of an infected Aedes female mosquito, especially in subtropical or tropical areas. The Aedes male mosquito doesn't bite us, right, to drink blood. They don't need our blood. All right. However, the Aedes female mosquito needs our blood for their babies. So now, once the virus enters the host, what happens? This virus will reproduce inside the white blood cell, right? You can see inside the white blood cell of the host, right, and move throughout the body. So this white blood cell, what happens? Will respond by secreting cytokines and interferons, that leading to fever and the severe pains. Right, so now you know, those of you who had dengue before, Why the fever? Why the severe pain? It is from the cytokines and interferons, all right, from your white blood cells, especially your macrophage and your dendritic cells. Now, fluid from the bloodstream leaks through the wall of the blood vessel into the body cavities. Can you picture that? Okay, dalam kamu punya blood capillary tu, arteries especially, okay, fluid, your plasma, alright, akan keluar pergi kamu punya interstitial tissue. So less blood circulation inside your blood capillary or inside your arteries. So this less blood circulation led to decrease in blood pressure. Okay, stromal cells inside the bone marrow, if you recall in the immunity, I did mention about stromal cells, right? So the stromal cells inside the bone marrow also infected, and this will lead to the dysfunction of the bone marrow, causing the low platelets count, thus increases risk of bleeding. That's why patient yang ada dengue ni, okay, nurse ataupun doktor tu akan sentiasa check dia punya platelet count. Why? Untuk check, okay, dalam dia punya bone marrow tu masih ada dysfunction ataupun tidak. Okay, stromal cell tu bila kena jangkit virus ni, okay, stromal cell tu tidak boleh menghasilkan platelet, alright, ataupun dia menghasilkan platelet tetapi dalam jumlah yang sangat sedikit. So what happens? Your platelet count will be low. Bila platelet low dalam darah, what happens? Kamu punya plasma akan continue keluar daripada kamu punya seluruh darah. Okay, and this will cause further drop in your blood pressure dan sangat bahaya. Okay. Treatment: bed rest and intravenous drip or intravenous fluid, okay, to keep the body hydrated, as well as paracetamol to control the pain and fever, okay, plasma replacement, as well as blood transfusion and sedatives. Prevention sangat senang, okay, eradicate any stagnant water from all tires, pots, or any object that can contain or hold water. Usage of airbags, okay, on ponds and any water containers, okay, and then fogging with insecticide to kill the adult mosquitoes. Fogging ni tidak bunuh dia punya larva, pupae dia tu, dia hanya bunuh adult mosquito, because adult mosquito ni yang jadi vector. So we need to eradicate the adult mosquitoes, especially the female. Okay, and then rearing of guppy or tilapia fish in an open water reservoir that kills the larvae of the mosquitoes. Okay, guppy dia suka makan ni larva nyamuk ni, okay, macam KFC bagi dia. And then communal cleaning activities in a local community, okay, and then awareness and education like what we are doing now to the public on the importance of eradicate dengue. Usage of mosquito netting, long sleeve shirts, long pants, insect repellent, and staying in a protected environment during the times of the day when mosquitoes are at their most active. And then solid waste management by decreasing the amount of waste and increasing recycling. Senang saja kan? Okay, nak eradicate nyamuk Aedes ni kan? Kalau tiadalah dengue. Okay, I think that's it for today. So next chapter and the next lesson we continue on tuberculosis and malaria. Bye bye.